When talking about Hogwarts Legacy 2, the first thing that needs to be made clear is this. Because of the recent wave of misinformation, many people think the game has changed direction. But in reality, it's the complete opposite. Comments circulating on social media and forums create the impression that the studio suddenly threw everything away. However, the latest information coming from Warner Bros. And Avalanche shows that this sequel is still being built as a AAA quality, story-driven, single-player experience. So there is no situation like the story is gone, online is here. The core philosophy of the first game is being preserved. Hogwarts Legacy 2 is not abandoning the soul of the original. On the contrary, it aims to expand it even further. I'll explain all of this in detail in a moment. Before getting into the details, let me say this as well. If you want more analysis videos like this, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. And one more thing. Friends, if there are other games you'd like to see videos about, let me know in the comments. I'll shape future videos based on that. Let's get started. The main reason behind this confusion is the recent wave of new job listings and hires. When players saw positions related to online infrastructure, technical systems, and networking, many naturally became suspicious. Because in the gaming world, these kinds of terms are often associated with bad examples. People have seen series they loved change direction this way before. So it's not surprising that a similar fear formed here as well. However, most of the reactions at this point are rushed, because talking about online infrastructure does not automatically mean the core structure of the game is changing. The studio had already clearly stated that Hogwarts Legacy 2 would remain a single-player, story-focused main game. That statement is still valid. So far, there has been no official announcement saying story mode has been canceled or the game will be fully multiplayer. On the contrary, the information we have points in the opposite direction. In other words, when it comes to the identity of the main game, there's actually a very solid foundation. In my view, what's happening here is a situation that's being misinterpreted, but not completely fabricated. People see online-related hires and automatically connect them to the core game. But I don't think these hires are meant to transform the main story. I believe they're more likely connected to a separate experience planned alongside the main game. In other words, while the main story continues on its own path, a different structure may be forming around it. This structure doesn't interfere with the story. It simply expands the overall scope of the game. That's why it's important to read the overall picture of Hogwarts Legacy 2 correctly. The main game continues to be positioned as a solo experience that stands out with its atmosphere and story. The online side that sparks debate isn't at the center of the game, it sits on the edges. Any commentary that fails to separate these two areas ends up incomplete, and that's exactly the key point that needs to be understood in the first few paragraphs. Because most of the false expectations around Hogwarts Legacy 2 are born right here. From this point on, the online side needs to be clarified a bit more. Because I think what the studio is trying to do is not to transform the core story of Hogwarts Legacy 2, but to create a separate space around it. In other words, the goal may be to prevent the game from feeling completely over once players finish the story mode. That means stepping outside the classic play it and shelve it cycle. But this step isn't about forcibly changing the main experience. It feels more like an optional expansion for those who want more. And this approach is a model we've seen in many big productions in recent years. The comparison that still makes the most sense to me here is the GTA 5 and GTA Online model. GTA 5's story was strong and complete on its own. GTA Online existed as a completely separate space and never interfered with the story. Hogwarts Legacy 2 could be following a similar path. You play the main game, experience the story, and build a bond with your character. Then, if you want, you step into an online world that is completely independent of the story. The existence of this online mode doesn't have to be shaped around players who don't like single-player games or don't care about story. On the contrary, considering the Hogwarts Legacy audience, it's far more likely that this mode would be calmer and more atmosphere-driven. Instead of competitive PvP, ideas like cooperative activities, exploring the world together, or simply spending time in the wizarding world come to the forefront. That makes the concept of online much less frightening, because the goal here isn't winning, it's being in the world. And that's an approach that fits the Hogwarts universe extremely well. On top of that, this kind of online structure doesn't have to harm the main story in any way, because these two experiences don't need to be interconnected. You may not need to enter the online mode to play the story, and players who enter the online mode may not need to know what happens in the main narrative. As long as this separation is built correctly, both sides can appeal to their own audience, and this balance seems like a critical point for Hogwarts Legacy 2. That's why when I saw the online-related hires, I didn't get the feeling that the game is slipping away. On the contrary, I thought the studio was planning a more cautious and controlled expansion, because they are fully aware of the success of the first game. They know exactly why people loved Hogwarts Legacy, and a radical transformation that would risk that love doesn't really match the signals we've seen so far. So the conclusion we should reach in this second block is clear. The online side is not the defining identity of Hogwarts Legacy 2. It's simply an optional layer that can be added around the game. The main story remains at the center. Online possibilities are being discussed, but the heart of the game is still the single-player experience. And closing this topic, here is the right moment to move on to the actual game itself. When we set aside the online debates, the real important question becomes what Hogwarts Legacy 2 wants to do on the story side. The first game laid a very strong foundation in terms of immersing players in the wizarding world. Attending classes at Hogwarts, exploring the environment, and feeling like a true part of this world were among the most loved aspects of the game. However, from a storytelling perspective, many players felt this was just a beginning, and that's exactly where expectations for the sequel start. Because Hogwarts Legacy 2 has the opportunity to build a bolder and deeper story on top of that foundation, the ending of the first game left many doors open within the universe. Ancient magic, hidden powers, and the player's relationship with those powers were not fully explored. This suggests that the sequel could shift toward a much darker and more mature tone. In Hogwarts Legacy 2, it wouldn't be surprising to see a narrative that goes beyond simple good or evil choices and explores more morally gray areas. If player choices affect not only the world but also the character's inner journey more deeply, the story could reach an entirely new level. Another important factor is time and atmosphere. Since the Hogwarts Legacy universe already takes place in the past, it offers a very different narrative space compared to classic Harry Potter stories. This gives the studio far more creative freedom. Hogwarts Legacy 2 could use this freedom to focus on periods, events, or character types that haven't been explored in depth before. New professors, darker figures, or the shadowy side of the wizarding world could move to the center of the story. This could make the sequel not just bigger, but deeper. One reason expectations for the story mode are higher is that the studio has learned from the first game. Players clearly showed which characters were more interesting, which quests were memorable, and which areas felt weaker. Hogwarts Legacy 2 can use this feedback to deliver tighter quest chains and stronger character relationships. Especially side quests that connect more closely to the main story could make the world feel more alive, and that significantly strengthens the player's emotional connection to the narrative. In the end, the true strength of Hogwarts Legacy 2 still lies in its story mode. No matter how much online discussions continue, the thing that will carry this game is the single-player experience. Letting players live out a personal story in the Hogwarts world remains the heart of this series, and the sequel has to strengthen that heart. So far, the information we've received suggests that this is exactly where the studio's focus is. Another topic that's just as intriguing as the story is how much the game world will expand in Hogwarts Legacy 2. In the first game, Hogwarts and its surroundings were impressive, but many players felt the world's full potential wasn't completely used. In the sequel, expectations go beyond just a bigger map. Players want a world that feels more alive, more reactive, and more meaningful. In other words, not just seeing more places, but being able to do more within the places we see. That means taking open-world design to the next level. Hogwarts itself, in particular, could become a much more active hub in Hogwarts Legacy 2. In the first game, the castle was visually stunning, but the sense of daily life sometimes felt weak. In the sequel, classes, students, and teachers could become far more dynamic. Improvements to the day-night cycle, school activities, and reactions to player behavior could turn Hogwarts into a truly living space. And that would indirectly strengthen the storytelling as well. On the gameplay side, one of the most talked about topics is the magic system. Spells felt satisfying in the first game, but over time, a sense of repetition could set in. In Hogwarts Legacy 2, seeing a deeper combat system wouldn't be surprising. Combo-based spells, stronger environmental interactions, and smarter enemy reactions could make combat far more dynamic. This kind of evolution would balance both the action and RPG elements of the game. Along with that, the quest structure is also expected to change. In the first game, some side quests felt disconnected from the main story. In the sequel, stronger links between side quest chains and the main narrative could make a huge difference. If player choices have consequences not only in the main story but also in side content, the world will feel far more consistent. And this could become one of the key elements that sets Hogwarts Legacy 2 apart from standard open-world games. When you put all of these pieces together, it's easy to see why Hogwarts Legacy 2 is generating such massive expectations. Despite its flaws, the first game turned a long, unfulfilled Wizarding World fantasy into reality. For the first time, people didn't just walk around Hogwarts, they truly felt like they lived there. That's why the sequel isn't seen as just another game, but as the completion of unfinished potential. And that's exactly where the weight on Hogwarts Legacy 2's shoulders comes from. This is also likely why Warner Brothers and Avalanche aren't rushing this project. They don't have an ordinary sequel in their hands. They have a world that millions of players have formed an emotional bond with. One wrong step in a project like this can damage not just the game, but the brand itself. So while the silence worries many people, from another perspective, it feels like a deliberate choice. Because games of this scale only make an impact when they're shown at the right time and in the right way. That's why release date predictions should be handled carefully as well. Late 2026 or even 2027 may sound far away, but for a sequel of this scope, it's not unreasonable. What matters more than rushing Hogwarts Legacy 2 out the door is making sure it truly takes a step forward, and that's exactly what players want. No one is asking for just a bigger map or more quests. They're looking for a more meaningful experience. In my opinion, the most dangerous thing right now is building the wrong expectations, turning the game into something it was never meant to be. And then being disappointed is the biggest enemy of projects like this. Hogwarts Legacy 2 doesn't need to be an MMO, and it doesn't need to be a competitive online game either. Its strength lies in its story, its atmosphere, and the feeling it gives players of belonging to this world. As long as that line is preserved, everything else will follow naturally. So for now, what needs to be done is clear. Be patient and try to read the pieces correctly until official information arrives. Instead of panicking when talking about Hogwarts Legacy 2, it's important to remember what the studio has said and done so far. Now let me ask you, what do you think should matter most in Hogwarts Legacy 2? A darker story, a more alive Hogwarts, or a narrative where character choices truly change the world? Make sure to share your thoughts in the comments. I'm genuinely curious about your opinion. And if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like it and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. See you in the next video.